Welcome back, and if you've just joined us, today's show is all about body image and body confidence. And now we're joined by body confidence coach for tonight, Michelle Elman. Hello, Michelle.
Hi.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
It's nice to be here.
So you've got quite a story, haven't you?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about how your confidence was before and how it is now?
So I've had 15 surgeries by the time I was 20, and those started from when I was born, so I sort of know nothing else apart from those surgeries, and they were throughout my life, both in the first year of primary school, the first year of secondary school, and then in the second year of university. So,
right. So why were you having those surgeries?
Well, I had brain tumour, a punctured intestine, an obstructed bowel, a cyst in my brain, and I have a condition called hydrocephalus.
Okay.
So a number of reasons, but some of them were connected, some of them were unrelated, but it all sort of came down to the hydrocephalus, and then they only found the brain tumour when I was 13. So
right. Okay. So you went through you went through hell, really, all those surgeries. It must have been painful.
It wasn't pleasant. No.
Yeah. Okay. So then what did that lead to with your confidence?
Well, that left me with a lot of scars, and I think that's the part of medical surgeries and medical trauma that people don't talk about, are the scars that you get left with. And so it was something which, because no one talked about, was something I got ashamed of, and because it's what sets you apart. So because my operations happened when I was very young, the first time I realised I was different was actually when I wore a bikini for the first time and my friends saw them. Because being 7 years old, your friends didn't really know that I had all these surgeries or what had happened.
You're always covered up and everything, yeah.
And because like in my day-to-day life you can't see them, which is quite abnormal for the number of surgeries I've had.
Yeah.
And so it was only when I wore a bikini for the first time that I saw the shock in people's eyes, the sadness, and that's quite alarming for someone who doesn't realise that there's anything any different.
Right, okay. So then how did that affect you when you saw those reactions?
Well, the first time was when I was trying on the bikini, and I remember walking out the changing room, and it was mother and daughter, and it was sort of a look of sadness and filled with like pity, which I didn't react very well to and was really stubborn and still wanted to buy it. But it was when my friends looked at me the same way that I started to close in a bit more. And I still was a very outgoing child, but I just held all the insecurities inside of me a lot more.
And did that get worse as you got older?
Yeah, so it got worse as I got older, because I went to a boarding school and you change in changing rooms for PE, and because in my dorms, I was now sharing dorms with 8 girls and like changing in the dorms. And then as you get older, dealing with boys and taking your top off for the first time in university, all those issues sort of build on top of each other until it gets to a point where you're like, okay, I have to face this. I have to actually do something about this.
And what did you do?
Well, it was actually a day when I was walking with a friend, and we walked past a reflective door, and she looked in the mirror and she went, wow, I'm fat. And I sort of realised, I sort of heard myself in what she had said, and I sort of realised that it wasn't, I'd always thought this girl was beautiful, and it wasn't what she looked like which made her unattractive, but what she was saying and what she was saying about herself. And that's when I was like, I don't really want to be that person. I don't want to be the person who puts down myself more than anyone else. And that's when I started changing what I was thinking and what I was saying about myself inside my head with that inner voice.
So it was like you hadn't realised what you were doing until you'd heard your friend say it about herself.
Yeah.
And then you realised how actually damaging it is to a human being to do that.
And how sad it is, because she couldn't see her beauty when I could see it. It was it was blaringly obvious to me that she was gorgeous, and she just couldn't see it, and that to me was quite sad. And I'd realised that I'd been beating myself up the same way, like many girls do, like younger girls during puberty especially. They're just they're mean to each other, but they're also mean to themselves inside their head, that inner voice thing. And
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
now tell us how you actually became a confidence coach.
So the last time I went to hospital was in my second year of university, and I was in the middle of a psychology degree. And the plan was always to become a psychologist, but then I got diagnosed with PTSD after all the surgeries, and having rushed back into university way too soon after my last surgery, which I was in hospital for 3 months, and then they told me I had like a certain recovery period, which I didn't listen, and I went straight to university. And so that sort of sent me into therapy and all of that, and I started discovering that like therapy wasn't working for me at the time, and I started looking at new avenues. So that's how I fell into coaching and NLP.
Right.
Because I think everything works for certain people, but at the time that didn't work for me because I didn't.
So you had to find your own way of getting help.
And especially if I wanted to help other people, I needed to believe in what I was doing. So that's how I found NLP, coaching, hypnotherapy and timeline therapy, and that's how I started using that with the clients I worked with.
Now tell us about this campaign as well that you ran.
So the campaign Scarred Not Scared, and it was actually a photo of me in a bikini because I went travelling in January in Australia, and one of my friends said to me, well, you're a body confidence coach but you don't wear bikinis, surely that's an issue people come to you with. And I was like, well, that's true, but I'm not really sure why I don't wear bikinis. And then only when she questioned me, I was like, it actually goes back to when I was very young, as I said, the first experience of feeling insecure in front of my friends. And I was like, well, I'm definitely not that same person anymore. I should wear a bikini. So this summer I decided to wear a bikini, but instead of just wearing a bikini, I wanted to put it on my website and show all my clients who I've been talking about these scars endlessly and they'd never seen it.
Oh, right, okay.
So I put it up there with a caption talking about how people with scars feel like they can't wear bikinis, they can't show their scars. And Scarred Not Scared was born, and then it went viral. So,
did you expect that to happen, to get that kind of reaction?
I had planned for it to be certain publicity, but I didn't expect the extent, and I definitely didn't expect the messages I was getting of people who wore bikinis for the first time and went swimming with their friends and actually had fun this summer. Just because they saw my photo.
So it kind of like showed how many people were having issues with their own body and it was scarring and all sorts of things.
I think for me, Scar Not Scared was about getting the conversation started about surgery scars, because it's one that's not there. And I remember when I was 15 and I was Googling the words, like, how do I tell my boyfriend about my scars? And nothing was coming up. So I was like, well, I want something to come up when people Google that, for people who, like 15-year-old me, had nothing to look up to, no one to talk to about it. So that's where the idea came about. But then also I was like, I need to involve more people, because as I said, when I wore the bikini, it wasn't just the fact that I had the scars, it's how everyone else reacted. So I needed it to be a bigger conversation and involve the other people who react to scars.
Now, what advice would you give to, it could be anyone actually as teenagers, but there's a lot of people that have hang-ups about their body, not even due to scarring, but just maybe if they're not like the ideal weight that someone says they should be and things like that. What advice would you give to them?
I think the main advice I would say is that your body confidence isn't actually related to your body. And if it was, then skinny people would be confident and fat people would be insecure. So it's not actually, you don't have to change your body to actually love it. And that doesn't work. You don't have to hate it to love it, but also loving it actually does help you change it. And that's what I've definitely found. And I exercise 3 times a week and have done so since I last went into hospital, but from a place of love. It's not from a place of, I want to burn as many calories and like, I don't see exercise related to weight loss. I see it as an appreciation of a body that works, which I was in hospital for 3 months when I couldn't walk, and I came out being like, I'm going to run on behalf of people who can't, because I wasn't appreciating my body. I was taking it for granted for a very long time. And there are a lot of people who can't use the bodies that we are able to. So
that's a really good point. I remember speaking about this actually on a previous show that we did about confidence and, you know, appreciating your body for what it actually does, because it's so important, and in the function of the body and everything. It's not just about how it looks, it's also, you need to appreciate for what it actually does for you, because like you said, there are people that can't use their body maybe in the same way someone else would, and it's like you kind of beat yourself up and you say all these horrible things about yourself when there's so much to appreciate. And
it's a vehicle to allow you to do things. So you shouldn't ever let your body limit what you want to do. And it should never be the reason why you don't do something. And it frustrates me that so many girls these days say, oh, I'll be happy when I lose X amount, or when I'm more toned, or because it's not about waiting on your body to change for you to actually change how you're thinking. And that's the main thing. It's about how you think about your body.
And this is the point as well, because I remember when I was in my 20s, actually I was quite overweight, and then I thought, well, if I lose, because I was depressed already anyway, and I thought if I lose this weight and get really toned and really slim, then I'll be much happier. I lost the weight. I was in the gym every day for a couple of hours. I would really like threw myself into weight training and stuff. And I got the body that I always wanted, toned and everything. And I was still miserable. And I still didn't feel, I might have felt better about myself, but I was inside, I was still miserable. And I would say I'm more confident about myself now that I'm in my 40s than I was in my 20s. And even though my body and stuff was more toned and everything then, but I love myself more now.
Yeah.
So it's really something in the mind. You have to change the way that you think about things.
Definitely. There's that quote which is, if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you'll always be right.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that, and that's why my company is called Mindset for Life, because it's all about the mindset.
Yeah.
It's how you think about things.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's really about embracing how you are now. To be, if you do want to lose weight, it's not about saying you shouldn't lose weight. It's about saying that do it from a place of love, but obsessing over calorie counting and thinking about food all day, every day is not a healthy mentality, let alone like forget about
especially
your
if it's just for image. If you're doing, like I said, if you're doing it because you want to care for your body and you want to make sure you nourish it correctly and you're taking care of what you have basically, then it's healthy. But if you're doing it just, I just need to look a certain way, then that's the whole wrong. That's why a lot of people fail actually with their weight loss attempts or weight gain attempts. That's
the thing, because I think another tip I give a lot of people in school is that you need to be very careful about what you're consuming in the media. And I tell them, because I mainly went viral on Instagram, I'm like, be careful of which Instagram accounts you're following, because those Fitspo accounts, those Thinspiration accounts, they encourage you to compare yourself to other people, and that's just a losing battle. You're never going to win in that game, so you might as well be happy with what you have at the moment. And if you're improving your confidence and doing all these things to change how you're thinking about yourself, and then you go on Instagram and every day you're scrolling down and looking at bodies which are 10 times skinnier than you and like making you feel bad, you're never going to make progress, and it is all just about baby steps. And definitely. So it's about deleting those social media accounts off your newsfeed, because they can post it, but you don't have to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Michelle, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's
Thank
been
you
great.
for letting me come on here.
All right, guys, so if you have a story to tell us to help others, and do get in touch with us. You can do so via our website, chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show, or comment on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Well, don't go away, because after this break, we'll be revealing our makeover, and later on, I'll also be sharing with you how I achieve body confidence. Only here on The Chrissy B Show.